So AOC called out Joe Biden and stated that the U.S. embargoes against Cuba is the cause of the turmoil, the current turmoil, and the riots against the Castroist regime in Cuba. This is wrong. And the other thing that's funny is her answer is to lift the embargoes and basically impart more capitalism into Cuba. More capitalism is not the answer. In fact, capitalism, what's funny is she says these policies that target other Latinos, for whatever reason, I can't respect somebody that for whatever reason they'll speak perfect English and then out of nowhere they gotta throw an accent on a word that's perfectly English. Latino is an English word. Latino, okay? So her use of the accent on the word Latino kind of irked me a bit. Now, I've done it in jest a few times on my videos. I sometimes do that, like when I say the name Zachary de la Roca. Okay, you know him, the scumbag from Rage Against the Machine. But my point is what you need to keep in mind is her idea that we need to give more capitalism to Cuba by lifting our embargoes against Cuba and that will fix the turmoil in Cuba. It won't. It won't, because the problem is not the United States or not a lack of access to things from Cuba. Cuba trades with some very big players in the world, including China, Russia, Germany, other Spain, other EU countries, and even the United States. Okay, we still give them stuff, and they also trade with many Latin American countries like Venezuela. My point is that they don't have a lack of external resources to get things like medical supplies, like she's claiming they need, and things like that. What they have is they have corruption. Okay, they have corruption, but why isn't capitalism the answer? NAFTA screwed over everyone besides the rich, okay? The North American Free Trade Agreement. And this is why you need fair trade, not just for the United States, but for everybody, okay? You need to deal with trading partners fairly and equitably and not to, just basically try and get everything you can, which is what certain countries like China do. And unfortunately, it wasn't that the United States was trying to get everything it could with NAFTA. It was they were representing their representatives, the oligarchy. They were trying to get everything they could for the oligarchy. NAFTA successfully outsourced U.S. jobs, put Americans out of work. It also, it also put a lot of Mexicans out of work. Okay. And the thing is, and it put a lot of other people out of work, and I'm leaving links in the description to show this. It was a bad deal for everybody besides the super rich and the corporations. Also, there was an imbecile, and I'm going to handle this, an imbecile that told me that the United States was fascist because it was corporatist. Corporatism is not fascism. Corporatism is an economic model that was implemented by fascism. Okay, that's number one. Okay, keep that in mind. That's the number one thing I want to point out is that corporatism is an economic model that was implemented under fascism. Just like communism was an economic model implemented under Stalinism. Okay? I want to make sure that people understand that because that's the truth. And the fact of the matter is, corporatism under Benito Mussolini had the state in control of the corporations. How it worked was the corporations and the people and the state were all represented equally, basically, in fascist Italy. Okay, people that understand fascism understand that. But the thing was that the corporations had to act to benefit the people and benefit the state. Corporatism, how it is in the United States under a crony capitalist system, basically corporations benefit themselves and their CEOs and the oligarchy. There's a huge difference between fascist corporatism and crony capitalist corporatism. Okay? And no, the United States is not fascist. Just like these people that, it really is idiotic to say things like people say, like, oh, well, it's fascist because it's corporatist. Corporatism is not the end of fascism, in case you're wondering. I don't know if anybody's read Mussolini's books or learned anything about the history of Italian fascism or learned anything about fascism, okay? But corporatism was merely the economic model implemented under Benito Mussolini's government, and it wasn't even the only economic model. There were also large aspects, despite Mussolini stating that he was anti-socialist, there were large aspects of the system that were socialist, such as healthcare, okay, and basic utilities and things of that nature. So to say that corporatism is fascism is a real stretch of the imagination there. And I think it's idiotic that people claim these things. He was some kind of Czech or Polak or something like that. I could tell when I went to his channel, but I mean, people don't grasp. They don't grasp. Like, for example, under a communist country, everything that doesn't agree with communism is fascism, 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 fascism. That's just what they say. The United States is fascist. Germany is fascist. England is fascist. No, they're not. But going back to how free trade really harms countries like Latin America badly, you have to go back to Sir Oswald Mosley, who explained that in depth. And the fact of the matter is, what happens is you're basically sucking the lifeblood out of these countries. Like in China, look at China. China is crumbling environmentally due to the out-of-control capitalism in China. Okay, and like I said, I agree with China. What are some things I agree with China? Look at the beautiful reforestation of the deserts in China. That's amazing. Okay, there's a lot I agree with China about. There's a lot I disagree with China about. But I look at things the way they are. I don't try and make them into something they're not. And that's what I'd like to point out is, like, you can't just say, oh, well, this is fascism or that's fascism or blah, 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 blah. And you certainly can't say, if you're AOC, you can't say that the problems in Cuba are caused by Joe Biden and the embargoes that our country has against Cuba, because that just doesn't make any damn sense. This is a protest, a violent uprising, it seems. Well, maybe not violent, but an uprising against corruption. It's not I said this before, it's not an uprising against communism, it's an uprising against corruption. The reason they're saying down with communism is that is what they think communism is. They don't know any different because that's the form of communism that was implemented under the Castroist regime. Okay, so that's all for this video. Check the links in the description.